Okay, you're all set.
Thank you, Joanne, and welcome everybody to the February 19th, 2025 meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission. We will open with the roll call. Mr. Chiocchio?
Here.
Ms. Hofstetter?
Here.
Mr. Sylvain?
Here.
Kevin Haas is absent, and we have no alternates to seat this evening, but we do have a quorum. Chairman Finaldi is here. Before I proceed to the meeting, I'll read our standard Zoom intro. This meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission is being held on Zoom as a virtual meeting. Even though this meeting is a virtual meeting, members of the public and interested parties shall continue to have the opportunity to participate in the meeting in a couple of different ways. You can participate via Zoom and see the audio and the video, or you can call in by phone and participate via audio only. Please be aware that we may have to mute your microphone or telephone to avoid an echo or some other background noise. Instructions on how to participate in the meeting appear on the City of Danbury website, and all of the documents and materials that apply to the matters to be discussed during this meeting, including the agenda, are also available on the City of Danbury website. As always, if you have any questions regarding how to participate in the meeting, please contact the City of Danbury Planning and Zoning Department. As a reminder, the entire meeting will be posted on and can be seen on the City of Danbury website. We will follow the posted agenda as per standard practice. If prior to the meeting any questions or comments on agenda items were submitted via email to the Planning and Zoning Department, those comments will be read during the appropriate portion of the meeting. Finally, please remember that technology glitches do sometimes occur. Please be patient if that happens. Let the record show, committee members, our next regularly scheduled meeting is for March 5th, 2025. The minutes of the February 5th, 2025 meeting were previously distributed. Unless there is any discussion on those minutes, I will entertain a motion to accept them.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Thank you, Helen.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept the minutes of the February 5th, 2025 meeting. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? I will abstain from the vote. I was not in attendance at that meeting. We have the first public hearing this evening. I will read the legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission of the City of Danbury will hold a public hearing commencing at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, February 19th, 2025, in a web-based meeting hosted on Zoom to consider the following matter. Belimo Air Controls USA, Inc., application for revised special exception revised site plan for proposed warehouse expansion in the IL40 zone, 33 Turner Road, A17001, in accordance with Section 6A2A15 and Section 10D7A, special exception number 724. A copy of this application is on file in the Planning and Zoning Office for public inspection. Parties in interest and citizens shall have an opportunity to be heard at this time. The meeting agenda will be posted will include instructions on how to access the meeting, the Zoom meeting, and application materials, or view the meeting in real time on YouTube. Arnold D. Finaldi Jr., Chairman, posted City website and Town Clerk's Office on February 5th, 2025, published in the News Times on February 7th and February 14th, 2025, purchase order number 2025-503. Just briefly, Commission members, before we ask for the applicant to speak, I just wanted to acknowledge we did get a letter from an attorney, Peter Olson, from Land Use and Conservation Council. It's addressed to me, and I think the letter was distributed to everybody earlier today from Jennifer. In brief, the purpose of the letter was to advise us that the applicant appears to have made an error with regard to the notification requirements for the abutting or adjacent landowners, specifically in Ridgefield and in Southeast. We are looking into that. We will get that notice issue rectified as quickly as possible. And I just wanted, for the record, we will not be closing this public hearing this evening, just in case that's a matter of concern to anyone listening. So again, to repeat, we will not be closing the public hearing on this particular application, the Belimo application, this evening. I just want to make sure we were clear on that. With that said, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application?
Mr. Chair, I'm here the applicant or here on behalf of the applicant. Is the public comment is before we make our presentation? Just a question.
Can you, no, now is the time for you to make your presentation. And the way we work it is I allow you to do your presentation. I ask, is there anyone else speaking in favor? I then ask for the opposition, and then we have a discussion, and probably we will definitely continue the hearing until our next meeting. So it's your turn.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. My name is Brian Phillips, Senior Project Manager and Professional Engineer with Langen Engineering at 555 Long Wharf Drive in New Haven. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Belimo, which is the global market leader in the development, production, and sales of field service devices for the energy efficient control of heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. They've been a valued member of the Danbury community for over 10 years. They completed their current facility here in Danbury in 2014. And this application is a revised site plan application to that original application in approximately 2013, 2014. The project proposed here, and I'll open the site plans and can sort of walk through the project. But it's essentially a building addition to expand their current production capacity through the use of a high bay automated storage retrieval system. The system is fully automated and allows for the production materials to be quickly stored and retrieved to aid in operations and manufacturing at the facility. This addition has been designed to integrate seamlessly with the existing facility, matching its roof line and connecting through strategically planned openings to ensure operational efficiency and workflow continuity. And with that, I will share my screen here. I'll send a request. And I can speak more to the plans. It doesn't look like the sharing is turned on. Is there another way to share my screen?
Is that us or you?
It says sharing is not turned on. The host. Okay, here it is. Thank you very much. Can everyone see my screen?
Now we
Yes.
can. Sure.
Great. Thank you very much. So our project is at 33 Turner Road, as shown in this aerial, at the end of Turner Road or towards the end within the city of Danbury. And we are directly to our south here is Ridgefield residential properties. To our left is a mostly wooded parcel, which is in New York. And then to our north, more residential properties. The current project, as I mentioned, is in the upper left-hand portion of the existing building. So approximately along this western face of the building between our building and the New York state line. So our site plan shown here is an enlargement of that area. The state line is shown on the left here with this line with the two dashes, and the proposed building addition is here, sort of grayed back. Now, in the existing condition, there is a fire access road which traverses around the building, and then there is a turnaround on the northern end. And through our coordination with the deputy fire marshal, we are proposing a new fire access road to be constructed to maintain that fire access to three sides of the building as there is currently. The building addition proposes approximately 76 feet out from the existing structure. It's a little over 32,000 square feet. And as I mentioned before, will connect with openings to the existing building. Just to speak briefly about zoning, we are meeting all of the bulk requirements in the city of Danbury for our zone. The building height was approved as part of that previous site plan approval, and we are matching that current building height. a quick note about the addition itself operationally. You know, this high bay rack system is, you know, essentially a fully automated system that will be housed inside this addition. So there are, you know, no direct employee additions associated with this structure. It's fully automated. So as such, we're not proposing any changes to the existing parking count on the property. A couple of other things to note on this plan. We are proposing a retaining wall between our building and the state line, which I can get into a little bit further on the following grading and drainage sheet, as well as a relocation of an existing water main loop, which goes around the existing building and will be maintained with this application. And we have been in close coordination with Danbury Utilities and Engineering to coordinate that proposed water main relocation. On the southern end of the addition proposes a extension of the existing loading dock area with 4 new loading bay doors to service the addition. Here we have our grading and drainage plan, and I will say just briefly, we did reach out to the Environmental Health Department. I saw that Mr. Larry Liebman had sent a staff report saying that he had reviewed the project. The building is approximately 1,000 feet from wetlands to our east, and this road is approximately 500 feet from those wetland areas, so well outside the regulated area. In terms of stormwater, we did review and propose a design which is in harmony with the existing stormwater design from back, during the original application. So we reviewed those calculations and designed our system to integrate with that, and are proposing some new stormwater quality infrastructure improvements, including catch basins with sumps, a water quality unit, hydrodynamic separator to trap solids, and a new underground detention system to infiltrate stormwater. And all of this will continue to connect to the robust stormwater infrastructure, which is currently on the site. As I mentioned, we coordinated with the Environmental Health Department and provided the environmental analysis according to the regulations. And as I mentioned before, we have this retaining wall on the left-hand portion of our property, which will allow us to do all of the grading that we will need to do for this building solely within our property and not encroach at all upon our neighbors in New York. Here we have just some of the building floor plans and elevations. We do have our architect online at the meeting in case there are any specific questions, but this plan has been rotated 90 degrees. So north now is to the left, whereas here north is up. We're now rotated north to the left, south to the right. Here are those new loading bay doors that I was discussing. And then you'll see a symbolic representation of this high bay automated system. So it's fully housed within the addition here as discussed before. And then we do have some elevations proposed. The new building architecture in terms of the elevation will be designed in harmony with the existing structure, very similar materials and colors to the existing warehouse that's out there. And that concludes my presentation of the plans, and I welcome your comments. Thank you.
Commission members, any questions for Mr. Phillips at present?
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Bob.
So can you expand a little bit more about the retaining wall there and the purpose for it? I understand for grading purposes. So can you just give us a little sense of the contour there and why the retaining wall?
Sure. Yeah, I'll reshare. So just to give a little bit more background about the existing site, the existing building down here, the FFE, the finished floor elevations, the elevation of that first floor is at 702. The grade at the highest adjacent point along the property line is at approximately 732. So about 30 feet higher than the existing building. Now, the addition will be an extension of that existing warehouse, so we are at that same 702 elevation. So in order to construct this addition without encroaching off of our property, we are proposing a retaining wall between the property line and the building to help make up some of that grade change. The building wall itself will also be retaining some earth. So as we travel around the building, we're providing a sloped access maintenance path here for maintenance vehicles such as a backhoe, et cetera, to perform any required maintenance on the water main. And then at this pinch point in the northwest corner of the building, we would be at approximately elevation 715. So the building wall is retaining about 12 feet or so, and then our site retaining wall is retaining the remaining 12 feet approximately. And then as we travel south, those grades soften up and the retaining wall goes away approximately halfway down the addition, and we are able to achieve site grades without the use of a retaining wall.
Thank you. And so do you have access all the way around that building or there?
We
there really
do.
isn't?
We do. We have, we're showing about 12 feet between the building and the retaining wall in terms of access around the building. And we've had extensive conversations with Danbury Engineering and Utilities to discuss this water main and the requirements and, the writing of the easement language and maintenance. So we've been coordinating with them directly over the past few months.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just you mentioned the relocation of a water main. Could you just review that again real briefly?
Sure. So currently, I know there's a lot of lines going on this plan, but currently in the background here, grade back is our survey. So this is the existing drive that goes around the building where we are putting our proposed addition. And this W with the asterisks is the existing water main, which essentially loops around the entirety of our building with hydrants along the way. And to maintain this loop around the building, we will need to relocate that water main so that it is outside of our proposed addition. So we are picking up the water main approximately at this point where my cursor is. Beyond that, it will remain as, existing. So we are picking it up here, maintaining hydrants. And I did see the staff review from the fire marshal just about coordinating hydrant locations, which we will do. But we're picking up the line here, routing it around our proposed addition, and then meeting back up with the existing line just to the south of the addition.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, any other?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Helen.
so I understand that this is a fully mechanized area. But I guess I'm wondering if there would be people in there to doing any maintenance on any of the equipment, let's say. And if so, if there's an emergency where they have to get out, are there any openings on that? I guess it's the western side, that long western side, or how would they, how, if there are people in there and there was an emergency, what's the plan that they can get out as easily and safely as possible?
Sure, I'll try to answer that, and we also have our architect on the line if I'm missing anything. But we do have a proposed egress door on the north side of the addition, as well as there are egress doors on the south side and also here on the southwest corner. So when maintenance is performed, we are providing those egress pathways in accordance with the building code for anyone accessing this space to have, we're proposing the in excess of the minimum required egress pathways, whether it's out one of these doors or into the existing warehouse, because there will be openings, between the addition and the existing warehouse.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you on that. And then, is the, retaining wall, the distance between that and the actual border into New York, is that, the proper setback, measure?
Yes, the regulations in Danbury do not specify a required setback for the retaining wall, but the construction of our retaining wall is shown approximately 15 feet from the property line, and it will be constructed such that there will be no encroachments onto the neighbor's property, whether at grade or below ground.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Go
I haven't
ahead.
had a ton of time to digest this yet, and most of my questions have been asked, but and I know you worked with the fire department to come up with this plan, but I just wanted to ask, you don't feel that the firefighting ability is compromised at all with the reduced distance on that side of the building? You feel that you're well covered in that respect, and the fire department agrees?
Correct. Yeah, we met multiple times with the deputy fire marshal, showing him this plan and the proposed access and grading, and he found this to be acceptable.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commission members? For Mr. Phillips? Mr. Phillips, is there anyone else speaking in favor of this application from your team? Are you a solo act?
Not at this time. We do have representatives here who are available to answer questions if needed, but that is the extent of our presentation.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Is there anyone else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Mr.
Thank you. Good
Rotello.
evening. Paul Rotello, 13 Linden Place, Danbury. I represent the area in question. I represent the city of Danbury on the city council, and also the 6th ward where the petition is, where the project is, and the proposed reconstruction is, as well as neighbors to the north and east. As was mentioned earlier, neighbors to the west and south are outside of the community. So to begin with, I'd like to commend Belimo et al. For the continued investment in the city of Danbury. It's in particularly the 6th ward. It's heartening to see this. The area is undergoing a renaissance between manufacturing, healthcare. We've got a large healthcare facility that's nearing completion. Another even larger one that's about to start construction. We have car manufacturing, car dealerships, and whatnot. And we are pleased and happy to see this investment coming into the area. As with all investment in all projects, however, there can be at least some temporary disruption. And while I am in favor of the project, I do have some questions that I will direct to the chair, and either the previous speaker or someone else from the company can address those. A couple, they're basically technical questions. One would be the distance between the building and the new retaining wall. Would that be enough to get a vehicle or a gator or something like that up and down that side of the building? Will there be any blasting? And if there is going to be any blasting to put that wall in to do the carve-outs, how long would the blasting take place, and have they made any plans to contact the neighbors, the HOAs and whatnot in the area? Also, I looked at the petition, and there seems to be a theoretical, anyway, 20% approximate. These are all approximate figures. A 15% increase in the footprint of the building, perhaps a 20% increase in traffic. So the question about the traffic is, would the traffic coming and going, this theoretical increase, and I understand that it's a theoretical increase and it probably won't actually be 20%, but would that increase in traffic, whatever it happens to be equally distributed along the thoroughfares? There is a main artery along Sawmill. Obviously, Turner Road is where it all ends up. But there's also a couple of private roads, Reserve Road and Woodland, and people do use those arteries to get from one end to the other. So have they contemplated what kind of effect it would have on those areas? And then finally, concerning traffic again, even though this is an increase in traffic, it has to be pointed out, and I'm going to point it out, that it's not a 20% increase in overall traffic to the area. It's a simple 20% increase in traffic to Belimo, period. And do people know, have studies been made as to how much Belimo contributes to the overall traffic? In other words, if Belimo is contributing 1% of the traffic to the area, a 20% increase would be, as the attorneys say, de minimis, hardly even worth contemplating. But if it's more like 30 or 40%, a 20% increase could be somewhat noticeable. So those are my questions, Mr. Chairman. You can answer them, the petitioners can answer them this evening, or if you're going to continue the meeting, they can do some more work and come back on that. But in the meantime, again, I would like to thank the commission for taking the time to hear this, and also thank the petitioner for continuing to invest in the city of Danbury. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Paul. What I'll do is I'll call the opposition, and when that's done, I'll ask
Sure.
the applicant to respond to your 3 questions.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? I think it's Peter Olson. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you. I did click the raise hand button. I'm not sure if you saw that, but
Very good.
good evening. My name is Peter Olson. I'm an attorney with an office in Bethel at 275 Greenwood Avenue. My firm name is Land Use and Conservation Counsel. I'm here tonight on behalf of Sawmill Road Property LLC. I want to thank the chairman for noting at the beginning of the hearing that this will be continued. That will give us an opportunity to have our civil engineer review the retaining wall and sloping, which directly abuts my client's property. I'm just going to share my screen real quick, if that's okay. I'll try not to repeat too much of what I said in my letter.
Okay.
Can you see the text up on my screen? Yes, there we go.
Yes.
Yes.
So my letter identified 3 issues. The first, as mentioned by the chair, that we think the notice of this hearing omitted several property owners that should have been included. I have up your regulation, which states here that you need to have the names and mailing addresses of all property owners of land located within, adjacent to, or across the street from the subject property. My client, Sawmill Road Property LLC, owns land which is located directly adjacent to the property. This is the Putnam County, New York GIS. This is the building. As you can see, GIS doesn't always line up property lines and municipal boundaries, but this is the parcel owned by Sawmill Road Property. So it is completely adjacent. In addition, to the south in Richfield, again, you can see where GIS doesn't line up, but you see Turner Road here and 2 lots, which are across the street, Turner Road. We think all of those should have been, all those property owners should have been notified, as well as the town of Richfield. The affidavit submitted with the application only contained property owners in Danbury. So we think that's where the problem came in. And hopefully that will be rectified with sending a new notice for the next hearing. Again, what we were looking for is the time to be able to respond. Obviously we're here, so notice to us at this point is fairly innocuous. Second, we think that the notice to adjoining municipality should have been sent by certified mail. That's what's required by the statute in this section right here. Such notice shall be made by certified mail, return receipt requested. So we think that should be rectified as well. Then finally, this is a map of the New York City watershed. As you can see, it extends over the state line in an area near the Belimo building. And we think likely is overlaps the area where this work is being proposed. The regulations of the New York City watershed require a permit from the New York Department of Environmental Protection. I've submitted those regulations. One of the activities that requires a permit is the addition of impervious coverage. And I think we can see that a building and a wall are going to accommodate that. I think it's best to view this requirement as an approval of a coordinate agency. So I don't think you can make your decision contingent on that permit being issued. I don't think you necessarily have to wait for that permit before you can consider this or render a decision like you would if it was, the EIC in Danbury. You'd have to wait for them. But I think because there's this a substantial additional permit requirement, it's a little difficult for you to really assess what this project is going to be because we don't know whether or not that agency will approve the plan as submitted. And so, we would suggest that your decision should be delayed until that permit is at least advanced somewhat, so we know, what New York thinks about this. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Attorney Olson. Just so you know, at our next next meeting, when we open the public hearing for this matter, I'll go through the same process, speaking in favor, speaking against. So just want you to know that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney. Anybody else wish to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone else in opposition? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Okay. All right. Well, as per the presentation, we have a lot of open things in the area of utilities. We've got some open questions. Jennifer, did you want to expand at all on the letter we received from Attorney Olson?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Jennifer Eminger, Deputy Planning Director. Staff is also reviewing that letter in-house with respect to the notice requirements. I think we've had some email correspondence with the engineer, and that abutters list is being updated. We're going to receive that official list tomorrow with the envelopes. So those notifications will go out in accordance with Connecticut general statutes and the City of Danbury zoning regulations.
Good, Jennifer. Keep us. I'm sure you will keep us posted on that. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you.
And before we go, I will go back to Mr. Phillips. Mr. Rotello posed 3 questions. I think I could answer them based on your presentation, but I will refer them to you. The 3 are the distance between the building and the new retaining wall. I think I heard you say 12 feet, but I'll let you officially respond to Mr. Rotello. His second question had to do with blasting. Will there be any blasting required for this project? And if so, will the appropriate notifications be made? And the third question he had to do with increase in traffic volume resulting from this addition. I think I heard you say it's a fully automated high rack warehouse system, and there won't be any new employees or very few. But again, those are the 3 questions. I'd appreciate it if you could respond to them.
Thank you very much. Yes, so the first question, distance between building and new retaining wall would be 12 feet. So enough room for a mini excavator to get up there and perform any required maintenance that's needed on that water line. The question about blasting, we do have some preliminary geotechnical borings in the vicinity of the proposed addition. We are also going to be performing more borings out here to aid in the design of the retaining wall and the addition. So we will get additional information, but a review of the original borings from about 10 years ago show rock to be fairly deep. That isn't to say that, there won't be blasting. There could potentially be some, but we would notify all the fire marshal, meet all the requirements for blasting of the City of Danbury. And if that includes any notification to neighbors, we would certainly comply with that as well. And then in terms of traffic, we did prepare a traffic memo as part of our application. And essentially, we reviewed the previous traffic report that was done as part of the original application, looked at the trip generation using the ITE manual for traffic, the international traffic, what traffic engineers use essentially to estimate new trips. So we looked at the existing trip generation, which was approximately 643 trips per day total. And then we looked at the proposed addition at a purely manufacturing use code. So like you mentioned, this, in reality, this is a fully automated rack system. There's no new employees that are going to be in this structure. But just if we took a very conservative approach and looked at it as a 32,000 square foot manufacturing addition, that equates to approximately 123 additional trips. And those break out to approximately 19 trips in the peak hour, so approximately 7 to 8 a.m., the peak AM hour, and then approximately 28 trips in the PM peak hour. So, we're talking about one additional vehicle every 2 minutes, one car. So what I'm trying to get across is this is sort of a drop in the bucket when we look at the specifically the use code. And then furthermore, when we look at reality of this is not causing any additional employees at Belimo, the number of additional trips, there may be a handful of more trucks coming in potentially with the 4 new loading docks. But again, we're talking about very few. So, although the building area is increasing, the employee counts are anticipated to remain unchanged. And that's sort of the basis of our traffic memo. And then I can also respond to Attorney Olson's. There was a point that he brought up, if I may, Mr. Chair,
Sure.
about the New York City watershed. So we did do some research into this specific permit, and the boundary that was shown on his figure is taken from very high level state topographic information. We have a survey done within the past couple of years of our site, and it shows that the watershed boundary is actually along the state line. So there is a ridge line on our property boundary, the state line, such that when rainwater falls, everything that falls in New York travels to New York and is within the watershed is within the New York City watershed. All rainwater that falls on our property travels east into our property and is actually without or outside of the New York City watershed. So we do not believe that we are in it. Furthermore, we did reach out to a contact at the New York City Department, the DEC, or the DEP rather, Department of Environmental Protection, Matthew Giannetta, who is a chief regulatory and engineering programs division. We did reach out to him and he confirmed that the watershed regulations are not applicable to portions of the city's watersheds in the state of Connecticut. And as such, the New York City DEP has no regulatory authority across state lines. So even if we were in that watershed, New York does not have authority in Connecticut. So I hope that clears up that point. And I will just add that, Belimo, my client, has met with our neighbor in New York multiple times, about a half dozen meetings over the past 6 months to discuss the project, talk about this project, garner comment from our neighbor in New York. So, we've really tried to be a good neighbor in this instance and, make our neighbor in Connecticut aware of the project, given him opportunity to comment on the project, showed plans that we were proposing because this building and retaining wall are located so close to the property line. We were sensitive of that fact. So I just wanted to state that before this commission and on the record that, Belimo has made multiple good faith efforts to discuss the project with the neighbor.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Okay, I believe I've called the opposition. I think we're all set. Again, I wanted to mention that our next meeting, I mentioned, is for March 5th. This public hearing will remain open, so comments will be welcome at our next, our next meeting as well. Commission members, unless there's anything else, I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until our next meeting on March 5th, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Okay, I think that's Mr. Sylvain and seconded by Ms. Hostetter. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Again, this public hearing will remain open and we will read, it will be on our agenda for March 5th, 2025. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all very much. I look
You're
forward to
welcome.
seeing you in a couple weeks.
Okay. That's it for new public hearings under continuation. We're going to go to item 1, 55 Newtown Road LLC. Application for special exception site plan approval for fast food restaurant, section 5A2B16, drive-through use, section 3E8, and trip generation greater than 500 vehicle trips per day, section 3E2, in the CG20 zone, 55 Newtown Road L12023, special exception number 803. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Attorney Beecher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Tom Beecher from the Collins Hannafin Law Firm. And with me this evening, once again, are Ben Dodo, the project engineer, Charles Baker from VHB, who's our traffic engineer, and Ben Gingrich, who's the architect for the bank building. David Hawley was unable to make it tonight. Since we were here the last time, we received a few more reports from city departments. We've incorporated most of the suggested changes into the revised plans that were submitted to you. Ben will address those and go through the revised site plan in a minute. As you saw, Construction Services pointed out that Newtown Road is a state road. So Mr. Barone had no suggestions for us for this particular project. Kelly Green submitted her report on the date of the last hearing, which Ben will reference, but because we've had other changes to the plan and it's been somewhat fluid, we're going to suggest that the final plans that address stormwater be a condition of approval to the satisfaction of the engineering department. With respect to the changes to the internal driveways, we're going to install a suggested painted do not block the box square on the westerly driveway that's shared with the city at the intersection with our main drive aisle. We'll also install the traffic calming painted median on the drive aisle that runs through to Plum Trees Plaza. And Ben has added increased signage throughout for increased information as well as enhanced safety. As I said at the last hearing, the bank will generate just 466 trips per day according to the trip multiplier table that you have in the zoning regulations. And that's not significant at all. And Mr. Baker's traffic study concludes that this entire project will have a negligible overall impact on traffic. His traffic report also indicates that with respect to the driveway that will someday be shared with the City Department of Public Works, which leads to the intersection of Newtown Road and Old Newtown Road, this project will have a negligible impact on that intersection. So after analyzing it closely, we have respectfully chosen not to change the internal flow of the bank customer traffic to all one way as suggested. Our plan has a two-way traffic in and out of the parking area at the main entrance to the bank, which faces west. The percentage of bank customers exiting here will be relatively small. And let me illustrate that for you. If you look at table 2 of Mr. Baker's traffic report on page 14 of the report, it shows trip generation for the entire site. The bank will have 45 cars leaving the site during the Saturday midday peak. The fast food restaurant will have 122 cars leaving the site during that same peak hour. The bank, therefore, has just 36% of the total overall cars exiting from the site during that peak. And I use the Saturday midday peak because that's the highest traffic of all 3 peak hours that were analyzed as normal in a traffic report. Pursuant to figure 4 of Mr. Baker's report, which is just a couple of pages after the conclusion section, only 15% of all traffic for both of these buildings, 15% of all site traffic, will use the right turn only lane out of the bank onto Newtown Road pursuant to our existing design. According to Table 2, the statistical number of trips leaving the site in any direction during the Saturday midday peak totals 150 cars, and that's without using the discount for pass-by traffic. Since only 15% of those 150 cars will use the right turn only exit out of the bank, then according to Figure 4, only a maximum of 22 cars will leave the bank via that right turn only exit pursuant to our plan. But if we implemented what was suggested by the city, a full one-way pattern throughout the bank parking, that would actually force all bank customers out of that particular exit driveway onto Route 7. And that would be all 54 cars using that exit instead of 22 cars during the peak hour, because 54 is 36% of 150. As I said, under the city traffic engineer's suggestion, 100% of all bank traffic will be forced out through the right turn only exit onto Route 6, whether customers really want to go that way or not. Mr. Baker will speak to this, but it's my understanding that the Connecticut DOT is not likely to appreciate the additional required flow of traffic forced out through that particular exit. Lastly, and more importantly, most of the ATM and the 2 drive-through teller lane customers already will use the right turn only exit out of the bank under our plan, because it's all one way through there. But under our plan, and I'm sure the bank would agree, it's preferable to give those customers the option to wrap back around the bank to go into the main entrance and that parking area if need be. For instance, if I show up at the ATM and the ATM's not working, I'd like to be able to swing around the bank and go and park and go into the bank to complete my transaction. Or if I go to the drive-up teller and there's something I need to do which requires me to go inside, I can just drive around the front of the bank to the west side main entrance and go into the bank. And I can do that easily under our plan. Under the full one-way alternative, I would have to drive out the right turn only exit from the bank, keep going, pull into Plum Trees Plaza, drive up through, circle around to the right, and circle all the way back to the bank, because I have to go that complete circular loop in order to just go to the main entrance. So, and what if I wanted to just go to the fast food restaurant after I got my cash from the ATM? I'd have to do that same complete circle, exit, right turn only onto Route 6, go back into Plum Trees Plaza, and go all the way up and around and back in on the drive aisle. According to the daily trip generation table in the regulations, based on that table, the total daily bank traffic is just 16% of the overall site traffic generated from this project. So again, we're not talking about a lot of traffic for this bank. So we don't really see where there's an issue in allowing a relatively low volume bank traffic to exit to the main entrance from the west side of the bank and keep that two-way, while the rest of the site coming through the drive-throughs would be one-way. But at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ben so he can show you on the plan exactly what I'm talking about.
If I could just for 1 second, I do, and I'll just throw this open, Jen or Attorney Beecher, I do have a copy of the memo from Vera dated 2/3, which addresses what Attorney Beecher was talking about, the two-way versus the one-way. Attorney Beecher appeared to be reading off a memo in response to this report. Jen, did we get a copy of that, or do we have a copy of it?
So I'm going to defer to Ally on this one.
Okay.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm reading my presentation, but that hasn't been submitted to you.
Oh, okay. So I've got a stack of paper in front of me. I just did not know if
Nope.
If there had been a written response to
You didn't miss anything.
Okay, I got you. Okay, so because there's a lot of moving parts on that one. That's fine. I understand what you're saying, and proceed, please.
So I was just about to turn it over to Ben.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. Benjamin Dodo, licensed professional engineer, office at 36 Mill Plain in Danbury. I'm going to pick up where Tom left off, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen just to sort of highlight and simplify some of those traffic patterns that Tom was talking about. Can everyone see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So basically, I'm going to zoom in a little bit just to make it easier on everybody. What Vera Karakunda, the traffic engineer, was basically asking. Well, first of all, I want to go over some of the things that we've done. Over here to the right, the west, we've added the do not block the box. We've added signage accordingly. We've added a painted median throughout here, again, for a traffic calming measure, even though we have a lot of curves and islands already. And at the last meeting we're at, but this has already been presented to you, we did add a pedestrian walk that interconnected the two shopping centers and provided a contiguous pedestrian path from the road through the bank to the fast food and then over to the existing Plum Trees Plaza shopping center sidewalk system.
And can you zoom in even more on that? Is there any
Sure.
possibility zoom in even that parking on the left there? We don't need to see that. Just zoom right in on there. It is good.
You know, I apologize. I have such a big screen
No problem.
that I forget sometimes.
No problem.
Sorry about that.
Well, that's good.
Is that better, everybody?
Much better.
Yes.
Much
Yes,
better.
thank you.
Great. So here is the do not block the box. So what Vera is asking for is that and this west side is the bank. This is the bank's main entrance here. The east side is where we have the drive-through lanes. He's asking that we get rid of this two-way flow, have it one way coming in, and then where I have one way heading to plan right, he's asked us we do one way to plan left. And we respectfully disagree with that. During the development of these plans, we intentionally wanted, and as Tom had just mentioned, customers who go through the drive-through or just come through the bypass lane, they have the ability, and again, most of them will leave the site to the right, but if they have other business at the bank or in the shopping center, we want to give them the ability to come out and do that, as opposed to if this traffic pattern is pointing to the plan left or east, and you come into the bank, do your business, you're forced to go this direction, go out on a Newtown Road, which is fine if that's the last thing you're doing. But if you want to do something else or visit another business in here, you're going to have to come back in and go to another business. Conversely, as Tom mentioned, when you go through the drive-through or the ATM and want to have the ability to go into the bank, if you have other business in the bank or you need to cash a check or sign a document or update something, a one-way pattern to the east is going to force you to, again, drive out to the main road, come back in, park, and go into the bank. So again, this was, well, you know, we put a lot of thought into the traffic circulation patterns on this site. And again, the bulk of the traffic at this bank will be through the drive-through lanes. And the bulk of that traffic will, if they have no business, leave the site. But we do want them to have the ability to come in and go to the bank and go to the other businesses here. What we've done as part of this, we've added a lot more signage to the plan. And I think this will help alleviate some of the issues and any concerns with this. But the main one we did was this sign J right here. It says no through traffic bank customer parking only. That sign we're proposing right here at the entrance to the bank. So again, for those of, if you're not familiar with the site, or if it's your first time here, you come in, you go, very easy to find the bank, but also to know that the intent is that this isn't a through road, and that you're going to come to the bank and then leave accordingly. We've also added a sign, and this was raised by staff to, and again, this is 2 hearings ago, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe last hearing, when there was some questions is, could we interconnect these? And I think we were all on the same page that we wanted to isolate the fast food restaurant traffic and not intermingle it and introduce a different traffic flow. But right back here near the end of this parking behind the existing plaza, and again, we anticipate most of this parking to be employee parking. We're proposing 2 more signs. No through traffic, employee parking only. And again, that's basically to discourage people from driving around the back of the plaza. But again, for those of you that are familiar with the site, we already have some employee parking in the back of the plaza. So we don't want to restrict employees from being able to drive through the back and park and use the businesses here. So again, we've done everything we can, and we just respectfully disagree. We feel this traffic pattern, one way in this direction, the way we've had it, is the best way. It keeps everyone on site, and it doesn't make you have to leave the site if you want to do more than one transaction at the bank or more than one visit to a business, if the bank is one of them. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Tom, I don't know if I'm forgetting anything.
Ben, can you just highlight, now that you've got it zoomed in?
Yes.
The calming center painted median.
Oh,
going
sure.
to the main drive aisle?
Yes.
Because that was one of the city traffic engineers suggested.
Yes, and it was asked that we looked into painting the pavement, textured surfaces. Again, from a safety standpoint, it's not going to make a difference what you do. So what I did is right here at the beginning of Denny's, I'm sort of painting a center median, but again, this is not a median with respect that you can't cross it. It's just a median that defines the center. It provides a width instead of just a dashed painted line. It gives the impression that when you're driving, the lanes are a little narrower, and will provide some traffic calming measures. Again, I wasn't concerned about that, but I did add that. And I also added a lot of, where am I here? One-way signs, see signs B and C, and also sign E, do not enter. So the site now has a lot more at the one-way exits, both at the fast food drive-through, at the bank drive-through, where you have traffic coming out and it's only one way. We have the do not enter signs. We've also added them out in the road here, even though that's a forced right turn, again, just to be extra cautious there, and have added some additional bank drive-through signs so everybody knows where the drive-throughs are, both at the bank and even back here at the fast food restaurant. So when you're coming back here, you know that stay to the left will get you into the drive-through, and if you just continue on, it'll get you around. So again, with the exception of this one-way flow across the front of the bank, I think we've addressed all the traffic-related comments, and we respectfully disagree with the recommendation.
Ben, did you address most of what Kelly was looking for in her report previously?
Most of what Kelly was looking for in her report was underground stuff with respect to utilities and clarifications. I didn't want to start revising the drainage calcs at this point until we've finalized the site plan. But there's nothing in her letter that is going to change the site plan itself. It more has to do with the grading and utility plan. There was a comment, I know Ally had a comment, not to get off course here, with respect to the retaining wall, that we said we'd be providing information, and I just gonna touch on that. Are you fine with that, Tom?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. So the retaining wall I'm talking about is all along the west side of our parking lot, both along the main drive aisle and along the restaurant in the back. And this is the area that's going to sit below where the city someday, and again, it could be next year, it could be 10 years from now, eventually extends this driveway, and this becomes the main entrance to their public works compound with access to the light. That's how everything was set up here, both with our interconnection, with the owner of this property building this driveway in conjunction with, for the city, but in conjunction with the city. So Ally had some questions, as did the public, I think it was Public Works, as to making sure that this wall is not going to impact any of their future plans. So I said it at the initial hearing that it wasn't, but just to get a sense of the wall, I've done some cross sections just to show you, and just to get a sense, the wall's about 2 feet high here, and then but through the majority of the wall, it ranges from 4 to about 5.5 feet high. It's not a tall wall. The wall is set back a good distance from the property line, and again, the city's driveway is, you know, again, it's not designed at this point, but it's not going to be on our property. It's going to be on the city's property. So I just want to share some cross sections. So these cross sections, the first cross section is in the back here. The next one is sort of in the middle where the wall's the highest at about 5.5 feet high. And then the third one is over in this area here where the wall gets a little closer to the property line. I didn't do one over here because the wall is only 1.5 to 2 feet high at this point. This is it's closer to 4 feet in this area. So I'm going to share that right now and zoom in for everyone. So just to get a sense, this is that first section. It's up at the back, near the drive-through lane, and this section is looking to the south. So again, here is the proposed driveway for the fast food restaurant. We're proposing a large modular block wall. The block wall would be, you know, a gray concrete, very similar to what you see in a lot of commercial applications. It's a gravity wall. Just to get a sense, here's the existing grade here. I'm calling it proposed too, because it's going to stay the same, at least at this section. In this case, the wall is about 4.5 feet high in the back. The wall itself is the back of the wall is probably going to be about 16 feet from here's the property line with the city. And again, I don't know at this time if grids are even required, but if the grids are required, this is the furthest they would come back, which is basically equal to the height of the wall. Just to get a sense, usually the grid comes back 60 to 70% of the wall height, just as a rule of thumb. And those are the geogrids that help reinforce it, sort of like a bookend that slides under the books on your bookshelf that helps hold the books in place. This does the same thing. So again, we're a significant distance away from a property line, and that's assuming the city puts their driveway right here or some feature right there. And then sort of a good rule of thumb, when you push a load on the ground, the load kind of spreads out its influence zone where it can potentially impact sort of at the opposite of what a slope is. It goes down 2 and over 1 usually when a foundation pushes. So again, we're a significant distance away that whatever the city did up here, whether they cut, filled, did nothing, put a driveway, our wall's not going to impact it. So this is where the wall's about 4.5 feet high. In the middle, the wall is about 5.5 feet high. And again, we're still a significant way from the property line. And then again, any potential zone of influence, if there's some loading. And that's really more of a building that you would put up that would impact that. A driveway is really not going to do much. I think what the city was concerned about is if you did put a wall right on the property line in this case, and the city did some work with drainage and grading and infrastructure, that they didn't want to potentially impact the wall. And I just realized I have the I have the wrong wall section here. I've added a fence to it as well, just a safety fence. The wall doesn't change. And then this is over at the south end near the entrance to the fast food restaurant. Again, this is where the grades aren't as steep on the city property. And again, the wall is a little closer, but you know, we're 10 feet from the property line, 8 or 9 feet to where a grid could potentially be. And there's really no chance that we impact anything with respect to the loading of the wall. I just want to
Thank you, Ben.
open one more thing here. Because I did open the wrong drawing. I'm sorry about that. 3/7 pad. Okay, I'll have to get that, but just it's nothing changed with respect to the section, but I decided to add a 48-inch high safety fence along there. And the wall, what they're going to look like, can everyone see this?
Yes.
This is what the wall is. It's very common in what you see. And as you can see on the sections, we're going to have a maximum of less than 3 blocks. It'll be 2 full blocks and then a partially covered block. And the wall will have a texture like this. It's a nice look. It's nondescript, but it does blend in. So anyway, that's it. I don't know if anyone else going to talk. Tom, you want me to leave the drawing open?
Charles, do you want to chime in on this right now? He's there.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add beyond what Ben and Tom mentioned, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we will ask the commission if they have any questions. I guess you can take the drawing down, I guess. Okay.
So it's my understanding from staff that that they would like to continue this public hearing because they would like the city traffic engineer at least to be able to comment further.
Yeah, on that issue, I mean, just off the cuff here, your comments and observations on traffic and the flow make sense to me. What I'd like to see is just something in writing, just a summary, a memo in response to the traffic engineer. Just paraphrasing what you said. Forcing people back onto Newtown Road to make that loop. I mean, it's pretty clear. It makes sense, but I just like to see it in writing in summary form, if
Be happy
possible.
to.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, Jen or Ally, where are we? I believe we do have to keep it open. We want to get a response on that traffic thing. And is there anything else we're waiting for?
Nope, it's just the traffic comments for the most part. The applicant has agreed for Kelly's comments to address those, so it's really just the traffic revisions.
All right, good. Okay, we'll get that done, and we will move on.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome, commission members. Unless there's any other comments or discussion on this matter, I'll entertain a motion to continue it until, excuse me, March 5th, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Thank you, Helen. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Bob, any discussion? Excuse me. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This matter is continued. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, have a good evening. There's nothing under old business for discussion and possible action. We have 3 referrals. They're all 824 referrals. There was I believe, a 1 or 2 page a report that went out that summarized all 3. And I guess, Jennifer, will you be handling those?
Yes, I will, Mr. Chairman.
All yours.
Thank you. So item number 1, which is number 8 on the council agenda, is the lease renewal agreement for Danbury Music Center. This is a renewal of an existing agreement. This is at the old public library on the corner of Main and Library Place. They currently lease portions within the old Danbury Library for office use, musical performances, music study, lessons, things like that. Staff has no objection to issuance of a positive recommendation, subject to review of the lease by Corporation Council and any additional lease terms deemed appropriate by City Council.
Commission members, any questions on the lease renewal for the Danbury Music Center? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for a positive or negative referral.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve this referral.
Motion for a positive made. Second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Sylvain. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That matter gets a positive referral. Jen, all yours from number 2.
Thank you. Number 12 on council agenda is a request for water main extension 4 to 6 Elwell Place. I said this to Arnie earlier. I had to look this up. I didn't know where Elwell Place is. It's off of Osborne Street, off of Griffing. It
So
abuts.
there you have it. Neither the staff nor the chairman has any idea where the street is, which is
It
a
was
little
just-
embarrassing. But we had
No,
to
I mean it's a tiny little street. I think it has like 5 houses on it. It abuts.
we'll find it. I'm over.
We-
Go ahead. I'm
we-
sorry, Jen. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. We did find it. It abuts Ellsworth School, and to the north is Worcester Cemetery. That's just points of reference. So the request came in for the water main extension. Again, it currently resides in Elwell. This is just an extension to the next property, which is owned by Nova Construction Management LLC. It is the property is located in R3 zone. It's a very tiny parcel. It's a little over 6,500 square feet. It is required to comply with zoning requirements. It's within the water service area. Staff has no objection with the standard conditions that we add.
Questions for Jen on the water main extension for Elwell Place. I'll entertain a motion for a positive or a negative referral.
I'll make a motion for a positive referral with the usual conditions.
Thank you, Perry. Motion made for a positive referral. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob, for a second. Any discussion? All in favor of a positive referral, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This matter gets a positive referral. The final 824 referral, Jen, number 3, it's to you.
This is number 17 on the council agenda, which was also item number 6 on their December 3rd, 2024 council agenda. This is the library lease agreements. There's two agreements that are part of this referral within the Danbury Public Library. The first one is the Danbury Hackerspace, and the second one is the New American Dream Center. Again, both of these spaces exist. There's a license agreement currently for the Hackerspace. Under this referral, it's a lease agreement now. It's with a 2-year term. It's in the same exact location, and the American Dream, the New American Dream Center is also going to be locating within what used to be existing space under the SCORE Western Connecticut office. Again, this is a 2-year lease agreement. And again, it's in that conference room that was formerly utilized by the hackerspace. Staff has no objection. Again, based on a review of the terms by Corporation Counsel and any additional terms deemed appropriate by City Council.
You know, in these days of cyber crimes and data breaches, I can't help but wonder, what does Danbury Hackerspace do? They don't hack.
It's not what you think. It's not what you think. So what they do, it's an innovation. They're doing a lot of, it's not like hacker computer stuff. It's design based. They're doing a lot of innovative work with designers, and I'm not explaining it very well.
It's okay, as long as they're not hacking into other people's computer systems. That's the big thing.
No, not at all. This is more of a design base where they're nurturing entrepreneurs coming in wanting to do certain again, design based designs. It sounds silly. I'm sorry. I'm not explaining it very well.
I'm more worried about what they're not doing. You know, I just don't want that. You hear about these.
I can jump in, Mr. Chair, because I deal with it. Good evening. It's like business incubator for young generations that cannot afford to lease a space. You just need a space for a computer and an address. That's what it is. Had nothing to do with hacking. It's just
no problem. I'm glad to hear that. It's an unfortunate name, I think, but I have no problem with their mission. That sounds reasonable. Thank you for the clarification, Waleed. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just add, they're technically, it's the Innovation Center. And if you remember, they did a big presentation, well, it's part of, and actually it's going to be on the agenda next month, as part of 18 Old Ridgeberry. So they're actually going to have 2 locations. One is going to be at, this is the old Crown Plaza, the Innovation Studios. They're going to be located there, and they're also going to have the downtown location at the library.
Good. Okay. No, sounds like a plausible mission. All good.
Yes.
Okay, commission members, any discussion on this 824 referral? Library lease agreements, Danbury Hackerspace, New American Dream. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for a positive or a negative referral.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the referral with the recommendations that are documented in this sheet we're looking at.
Thank you, Helen. Motion for a positive referral. Do I hear a second? Second, Mr. Sylvain. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. That's it for the referrals. Nothing under new business correspondence or other matters. A couple of things there for reference only. Guess at our next meeting, we'll be continuing both Belimo and Newtown Road. Few open items, not many. Doesn't sound like there's a lot of stuff, but anyway, those 2 will be coming back. Anything else? Hearing no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Thank you, Helen. Second, Bob.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Stay warm. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank
Very
you.
good, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.